This is an emergency broadcast to all War Thunder players. Gaijin is making a big mistake yet again. Surprise, surprise. And it has to do with an attacker with really good missiles. If you haven't figured it out, obviously I'm talking about the A10C, and this thing is going to have, well, as of the desert right now, 4 AIM-9Ms at battle rating 11.3. That could of course change, and that is the entire point of today's video, is that we are hoping it does change, and we're going to try to do something about it. I'm calling on you guys to take to the forums, contact Gaijin, tell them that the A10C should not have 4 AIM-9Ms at battle rating 11.3, because if we look at planes that the A10 could be fighting, I'll leave a list on screen right here, just take a second to read through it. It's absolutely comical what a team full of A10s carrying 4 9Ms could do to a team of some of these aircraft. Will there be teams full of A10Cs after this update? Who honestly knows? There's really no way of knowing, but the fact remains that there could be a pretty large A10C spam once people get a hold of this thing, and especially carrying 4 AIM-9Ms at 11.3, you can get down tiered to fight Mirage 3s with your loadout of AIM-9Ms. It's going to be a very effective plane at keeping enemies from entering your entire zone of the map. There are of course ways you can deal with this. It's not just you're guaranteed to die, it's an A10 after all. We will touch on that, don't worry, but the A10 should not have the most lethal air-to-air weapons at its battle rating. It is an attack ground strike plane. It is not supposed to be good at killing planes. Yes, it should be able to defend itself, maybe some AIM-9Ls, that would be great, but having the best air-to-air weapons doesn't make any sense. And Gaijin has a history of doing this. This is pretty normal for Gaijin Entertainment. They add an attacker with absolutely terrible flight performance for its battle rating. No surprise there, it's an A10, it can't even really go past 730 kilometers an hour in a straight line. And so they compensate for this by giving it absolutely busted air weaponry for its battle rating. The Su-25s are not much different. They had all aspect R60Ms at, I believe it was 9.3 or 9.7 for the longest time, and that was terrible to play against. Even at 10.0 they were terrible to play against. And now you have some Su-25s that are also 11.3. The Su-25BM, I believe it is 11.3, and it carries 2 R73s, so not a far cry from the A10C here with its 4 AIM-9Ms, but I do think that double the missiles here on the A10 makes all of the difference and will make this battle rating absolutely insufferable to play against if you're playing one of these aircraft that have the standard, 15 to 40 total countermeasures, and they're not even large calibers. Of course, as you go to the higher end of the A10's battle rating bracket, there are planes with 60 and sometimes more countermeasures, which is great, but the fact remains, having 4 9Ms on a single A10, there's going to be more than one A10. There is a high potential you're going to be using a lot of flares that you don't have a ton of at this battle rating just on A10s. And if you're not going to do that, well, let's get into how you can counter the A10. You simply don't fly anywhere near them, and this is going to be the best option because the A10 only goes, like I said, 700 kilometers an hour on a good day, so you could make the choice to simply not go anywhere near them. But that's also just stupid when you really think about it. Why does the A10 have the ability to completely remove an area of the map from a team? AIM-9Ms can go about 3 kilometers in any given direction and hit the target. It's going to be a 3x3 bubble in which you cannot get anywhere near an A10, sometimes more depending on your speed and which way you're flying. It's just annoying. Having more than one of them on the map means that much more space you're not going to be able to enter. You could get caught in between certain A10s, you could be fighting somebody else and then have to disengage completely in fear of getting 9M spammed. It's just not going to be a good time. Quick peep at the HMD for the A10 because it is pretty cool. It has like IFF on it, so you can see friendly planes and friendly ground units and stuff like that on your HMD, which is a cool feature. But back to the topic at hand, at least with the gate with IRCCM missiles like the Magic 2 that you might find around this battle rating sometimes, or the R73 you might find sometimes, 1, they're only really ever in the quantity of 2 per airplane, and 2, they are gate with, so unless somebody shoots it from really close range, you have a pretty good chance of flaring that missile before it gets into that kind of no escape range. With AIM-9Ms, we're dealing with tracking suspension IRCCM, so these things are pretty damn flare resistant at far range. You're not going to be accidentally flaring them, as in like flaring some other guy's missile, and the AIM-9M kind of just coincidentally goes for that flare. that's not going to work. You have to very intentionally and very specifically flare the aim 9M, and it usually is going to take a healthy amount of flares to do so. I don't think I have to plead this case too hard. I think most of you will probably be in agreement that you really don't want to be fighting teams full of 4 aim 9M per airplane when you're playing the 10.3 to 11.3 battle rating bracket. It's not going to be a good time. I do think most people understand that. But just to recap, the A10, yes, it's really slow. Yes, you don't have to go fight it, and you don't have to go get yourself launched by an aim 9M. But sometimes you just don't have a choice. You have to engage people on your terms. Sometimes you're going to be fighting other people just to get third-partied by aim 9Ms, and you either gotta bounce and leave them to have your 6 o'clock essentially and start over, give up all the advantage you could have been working for, or try to flare those incoming aim 9Ms. You might be caught between different A10s where you're getting aim 9M shot at you from different directions, or have to disengage because you're getting enclosed by multiple A10s from different directions. It's just not going to be fun. It's really not. They take too many flares to flare away. The planes at this battle range don't have that many flares to give up solely for aim 9Ms. There's going to be other targets they have to worry about still, and it just doesn't belong on an attacker at 11.3. There's no need, there's no reason this plane should be that good at killing other airplanes. Important to note, they do have HMD right now for their aim 9Ms, for these A10Cs that is, but I do anticipate that changing. I bet Gaijin is going to implement some kind of unique aim 9M for the A10C that doesn't allow it to slave to HMD, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But the fact remains, the A10C 11.3 having aim 9Ms, it's going to be a popular plane. There's going to be a lot of them, and if you're flying a 10.3, 11.3 aircraft, it's going to be extremely frustrating to have to deal with. So I hope you guys can kind of see where I'm coming from. I hope we take some action on the forums, let Gaijin know that this thing needs to go up in battle rating, or maybe better yet, just get rid of the aim 9Ms. Give it the aim 9Ls like the other A10s, and let it be an upgrade in ground strike capability rather than air-to-air capability, because after all, that is what the A10 is all about, is killing ground units. Quick little rant video, kind of an emergency video. I really hope to see this thing changed in some way or another, either up in battle rating, preferably 9Ls. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you later.